and thank you for tuning in to Starting Small. Today, I'm joined by Kim Lee of Prime Roots. Kim, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Cameron. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I'd like to kick things off with your upbringing. Where did you grow up, and what would you say your childhood was like?
So, little known fact, I was actually born in the Canadian prairies. So, born in Alberta, really meat and potatoes type of place. I grew up going to delis on the weekend with my mom. I thought that the Safeway deli was where you get like free food because they would always give me like a slice of meat
Yeah,
and a cookie every time I went in. My mom's a chef, and so my upbringing was like very centered around food. Whether it was, trying just like new things that my mom was whipping up. Food was always just like very central
yeah,
to like my upbringing. And here we are today, also
yeah,
in food. You can
love
keep
it.
thoughts looking back.
No, full circle. Just, with your upbringing growing up, what were some of your aspirations? Like, did you enjoy cooking as well with your mom, or what were some of your interests growing up?
Because my mom did a lot of the cooking, I didn't really take much of an interest or do much cooking on my own until much later in life. So when I went to college and like had to cook for myself, that was when I was really able to like kind of connect all the dots and the things I would observe her talking about or do in the kitchen. And she obviously showed me how to cook and all of that, but I didn't
Yeah.
really develop my own like style until much later in life, but just got to absorb like so much just traveling to eat new foods as
Mm,
part of her like creative process. And everything we did as a family was just like food centric. So all
yeah.
of the things kind of like coming back and inspiring, what the work that I'm doing at Prime Roots being
Mm,
so like taste focused and being really like food focused at the end of the day.
yeah. So I saw you went on to study at the University of California, Berkeley. What led you to go there? And then also, what did you study?
I went to Berkeley and I was studying a whole myriad of different things. I had a lot of interests in high school, ranging from the environment. Like I started the environmental club at my high school,
Wow.
while also competitively competing in freestyle snowboarding. And so
Wow.
just really motivated to do my part to like better the environment. So like leaving the mountain or leaving the beach like better than I found it.
Mm,
So that was something that was of interest. I was also really interested in entrepreneurship and technology and like how do you drive innovation and how do you build world changing products that consumers will buy into. And that
mm,
starts with building something that's radically better. That's
yeah.
maybe finding those areas that people like didn't even know they needed something.
Mm,
Um, and so kind of led me to like where I am today, but I was really all over the place in school. I had like 3 majors and 2 minors and, was very undecided, and, I'm really happy because I was able to combine all of my passions into founding Prime Roots, and kind of the tipping point was learning about how animal agriculture accounts for more greenhouse gas emissions than all of transportation combined. So this, like,
wow.
small choice that we make 3 times a day to eat animal-based proteins like meat, because they taste great,
Yeah.
was making such a big, like, outsized impact on the planet, and that was
Mm,
something that, like, I myself personally could, like, make an impact towards, and, like, everyone else can too, and so
yeah.
I'm a proud flexitarian. I'm not actually vegan or vegetarian, and I really wanna inspire and really, like, show that it's not an all or nothing, like, we can all do our part, and it really does start with having better options, so
Love it.
products that are no compromises.
Yeah. So the founding of Prime Roots, was this during school, or I know a lot of research was done during this time? Like, kind of where's the exploration happen here?
So Berkeley was such a great, really stomping grounds because there are so many resources because we're in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Whether it's learning how to start a company, how to fund a company, how to ideate, how to just do like rapid iteration and prototyping. I was part of a lot of research labs and programs that were literally meant to incubate companies. So
Mm,
that was just a really important resource as part of the journey. Um, yeah.
love it. So doing some of that research, I mean, you dove into flexitarian, your own preference on that, but also like what were some of the main issues? You mentioned emissions. or a greenhouse, but also what are some of the issues that kind of resulted in Prime Roots and your co-founder to start that with you as well?
Really, our North Star is like, how can we get more meat eaters
Yeah.
to adopt more plant-based options?
Mhm.
Um, and that starts with having better products that are no compromises. So for us, like the challenges we saw were a lot of these products are super processed. Like if you look in the ingredient list, you like can't pronounce half of them, you don't know what they are, they're
Mhm.
super long, and you're like questioning like, is this really even better for me? Like plant-based should be better for you, like health-wise, and it should be better for the planet.
Mhm.
It's a little bit dubious, like whether or not that was actually the case. And
Yeah.
so I started Prime Roots in 2017, so it's been 7 years. But we didn't launch our products, like our deli lineup, which is our what we're best known for, until about a year and a half ago. So we're pretty new to the market. But
Yep.
so we spent like 5 years just really iterating on making the best products and having that North Star of like how can we convince meat eaters
Mhm.
that, plant-based is better for them, better for the planet, and also obviously the table stakes items, which is like, making it taste good and like being good.
Yeah.
Um, and so we landed in Delhi, which is really interesting because deli meats, most people are aware that they're like laden with sodium and preservatives
Mhm.
and cholesterol, and like these things are like not so great.
Yeah.
Um, and so we can actually like deliver a product that's better than meat in those ways and that really meets people where they're at. Sandwiches are the most consumed food in America. And
Mhm.
so we want to make it easy to switch plant-based and not feel like you have to take away your steak or
Yeah.
your, like, center of the plate protein that you've been, like, waiting for that's that special occasion. This is, like, the everyday small changes that you can make, and you won't even notice it.
Yeah. What did the R&D process look like when formulating this? I mean, the ingredient, what is the main ingredient behind the protein? I know koji, I read on the website as well. Kinda dive into that and the how you guys discovered that as the main ingredient for your for Prime Roots.
Koji is our star ingredient. It is a Japanese fungi. So most people have had koji before. It's found in miso and soy sauce.
Mhm.
So these like really umami rich, like savory condiments that we use, to eat a variety of different foods. Um, that umami flavor is coming from the koji.
Mm.
So it's a Japanese fungi. We like to explain it like it's the roots of mushrooms.
Mhm.
Because texturally, it's actually really similar to chicken breast in texture. And so it has this like meaty texture and this meaty taste. And so how we actually go about making the deli meats and the charcuterie that we make is literally how you would make meat. So
Mm.
we actually like we'll net our hams and we'll roast them and we'll dry our like salami and our pepperoni. So we like literally make meat with it because koji is so meat-like to begin with.
Mm.
And we're really playing into the strengths of koji and supplementing it with, the flavors that you're expecting in, a salami or a pepperoni. You're adding those like high quality spices, and really delivering on the protein, the satiety of like the taste, the
Mhm.
texture, and the protein content that you're getting in meat. So we can deliver all those things without any of the bad stuff.
Yeah. What does that look like when you guys discovered koji and making your first few products, the first deli products? Was it you guys partnering with a production facility, co-manufacturer? Were you guys doing in-house? What does that look like?
Well, if we go like way, way back, like in the
Yeah.
very beginning, it was like in my apartment,
Wow.
I had, like, an Instant Pot, and we, like, would grow the koji in, like, glass jars.
Wow.
I actually still have, like, the first jar that we ever,
Wow.
made, and, like, it keeps growing, so, like, we can keep growing it as, like, part of, like, the first culture, um,
Wow.
and so very, very humble beginnings,
Yeah.
and then from there, we just started to produce more and try to scale up and figure out, how do we do this? And because no one had really done what we had done before, we had to build out our own facility. So we do manufacture everything ourselves today. And it's taught us a lot and
Mm.
we've been able to really deliver the best quality products because we make it ourselves and we're so close to being able to iterate and always deliver like the best products.
Mm. Yeah, at launch, what was that go-to-market strategy? Was it D2C, retail? I mean, it is a new product into a new category or
Mhm.
into existing categories. It's such a different product. So what did that look like as well?
Also evolving. I think like most startups, you like learn along the way. And
Yeah.
so our first product we ever launched into the market was online, was our bacon. We actually launched online because we launched during COVID.
Oh, wow.
And it was really just the ability to test different products with consumers, get feedback to understand like what did people like about our product specifically, what use case were people using it, and what are the pain points that people like wanted to solve um, with uh, with the ability that prime ribs has to make any type of meat. And
Yeah.
so with the bacon, and we tested a whole variety of other proteins, we learned that people really craved convenience in plant-based.
Mm,
There's a lot of burgers, there's a lot of nuggets in the market, and you have to cook them. And there are many ways to mess that up.
yeah.
Um, and there's additional friction in having to cook something that's new.
Mm,
And so we wanted to remove that, and we're thinking, like, what are the most convenient form factors that you can, like, just have cold or, like, really, really easy to eat products. People also loved the taste of the bacon and the taste of our proteins because it's super meaty, and wanted to be able to use it across a variety of different applications, which the
mm,
most common one being in sandwiches.
yeah.
So, kinda like all the things led to deli as, like, being our core focus, which is where we are today, but it
Mhm.
was really an iterative approach, and bacon is still a part of our assortment. People love bacon. It's also a very important part of many sandwiches.
Yeah. In what ways do you guys find that education works into the marketing? I mean, it's with such a new product, you have to convince consumers that conventionally, I mean, meat is animal based, and this is definitely a new product for the category. So, what kind of content did you find that works? Education? What did that look like?
That's still evolving for sure for us as we're, like, expanding our distribution and our reach.
Mm,
Um, and what we've learned is education is really critical.
yeah,
Um, and so whether that's signage or things like this podcast are great ways of just educating people about what we're doing and how we're different. I
yeah,
think that's all really, really important to really building out our community, building out the support behind the products, and understanding, like, why should someone pick a plant-based deli meat product over a conventional product, or just the fact that this product exists. There's a lot of people who have left the deli who don't eat as much deli meats as they used to because they're aware of, like, the negative impacts, but there has been no
mm,
solution until now. So,
yeah.
really inspiring a new generation of eaters and deli goers behind a product that's convenient, that tastes great, that's better for
Mm.
you and better for the planet.
Love it. So I did see you guys are doing kind of like this food tour as well. I mean, this definitely is a part of your marketing campaign too, but like this cyber truck that's wrapped with your branding on it. Dive into that. What was the inspiration behind that as well? I'd love to hear.
Yeah, our sandwich Cybertruck is rolling around the country right now, um, and it's super fun, and we have been able to really crush so many stereotypes and just, like, perceptions around plant-based with it, 'cause it's definitely a head turner. It's, like, wrapped like a sandwich,
Yeah.
um, and it says "Cold cuts for a hot planet" on it. So, it definitely gets people to kind of, like, be curious about it, and a
Mm,
lot of like, hardcore meat eaters have, tried our products 'cause they've seen the truck, they're like, "This is really cool, like, I just wanna try whatever this is," and
yeah.
they'll try it and they'll be like, "This is a really amazing sandwich, like, where can I get this?" And then they find out it's plant-based, and they're like, "I would have never tried this if it weren't for,
Mm,
you doing something different than, the marketing that's out there." There's companies that say, "Oh, this carrot tastes exactly like a hot dog," when it
yeah.
doesn't usually taste like a hot dog, and it's not very convincing for a meat eater, which once again is like our North Star. It's like, how do we get more meat eaters to adopt more plant-based options?
Mm,
Because that's where the impact comes. Like,
yeah.
if our products are replacing another plant-based product, there's not really much net positive effect, but it's
Yeah.
when we're able to introduce it as an alternative to a conventional meat, that's where we can really drive that environmental impact
Mm.
and the health impact and all the impact that we wanna do.
Love it. I mean, I know you guys have some retail. Is it mainly on the East Coast retail, or what does
We're on
that look like right now?
the Coast Coast now, so we're up and down the West Coast, and mostly up and down the East Coast now as well.
Mhm.
And so we've been, expanding. We're both in grocery store delis, so actually in the deli counter, so you can walk up and
Wow.
ask for a pound of prime roots ham, sliced thin.
Wow.
It's a pretty cool experience,
Cool.
and so we're in grocery store delis, but we're also working with local delis, sandwich shops, anywhere meats are sliced fresh. So that's what
Yeah.
really makes us very different than anything else that's out there in the plant-based world. Like we are sliced fresh to order, but just the way
Mhm.
you like, made fresh into a sandwich, salad, etc. So that's it's a really amazing product, and we have convinced many hardcore carnivores
Yeah.
that this is something that they can get behind, and it still checks all the boxes for them in terms of protein, all the health attributes. It also gets rid of a lot of the not so great health
Mm.
implications of eating deli meats, like the cholesterol and the nitrates and the preservatives.
Mm. Yeah, something I'd be curious on after, like, kind of this discussion is who's responding well? What is the main demographic right now that you guys are seeing? I'm curious.
I know it's, like, kinda cliche to say everyone,
Yeah.
um, but deli meats are so universal, like,
Yeah.
you eat them as a kid because it's, like, a convenient option that your mom will pack your lunch with, like, that's how I, like, ate deli meats as a kid, to, having it on a charcuterie board to, like, entertain your friends if you're, like, older, and, like, anything in between. We've seen just, like, phenomenal reception from young kids who are extremely and brutally honest about their opinions about how foods taste, and they like love it, to, someone who's gone for a checkup with their doctor,
Mm.
and who, they're aging and their doctors are saying, hey, you have to cut back on deli meats and processed meats because of cholesterol or whatever it might be. So
Mm.
we've seen like really broad reception across the board. And of course, there's, Gen Zs and millennials are more aware of the environmental implications
Mm.
um, of their food choices. And so it's been really exciting to have that kind of broad appeal across different demographics.
Yeah.
And that's like why I started the company, is because I really wanted to have a solution that touched on so many parts of people's lives or could have that positive impact. And
Mm.
then obviously like the wider like environmental impact for our planet as well.
Yeah, I love it. On the opportunity of product expansion, if you could share, like, do you see opportunity or potential of expanding into other like meat categories or like other food categories? What would that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I started the company, like I knew that protein as a whole, there were so many areas that needed to be improved and innovated on. Like if there was an amazing option, plant-based option for every like animal-based protein that I eat, I would definitely be like 100% plant-based. But that just
Mm.
doesn't exist today. It wasn't until maybe like 5 to 10 years ago, like the alt dairies didn't curdle every time you put it into your coffee, right? And that's
Yeah.
a compromise. And so it's going to take time for the industry to have all the form factors so that we don't have to compromise when we're eating the foods that we grew up and we know and we love.
Mm.
And so for Prime Roots, we're really focused on deli at first, and there's still a lot of meats, a lot of things at the deli that have
Yeah.
yet to be tackled. And beyond that, like we can make any type of protein in any type of meat. So
Mm.
we're really excited to get there one day, but our North Star is
Yeah.
deli and sandwiches, which are the most consumed food in the US.
Yeah. So we haven't touched on it yet, and the listeners are probably curious, but prime roots, where does the name come from for prime roots as well, being in the meat category?
There's a lot of meanings of the name.
Yeah.
Um, so the nerdiest one is that if you look at like if you look at plant-based like products, plants and animals are actually like distant relatives. Like we as like humans and like animals, like and meat, we're more closely related to fungi than we
Mm.
are to plants. So plants and fungi are in different kingdoms. And so it's kind of like our prime roots are is
Mm,
fungi. So that's like the really nerdy way
yeah.
of looking at it, but it's also prime denotating like quality
Mm,
and roots, it being like the roots of mushrooms.
I see.
Um, so different interpretations on the name.
Yeah. Very cool. So I like to wrap up each episode with this. If you can share one piece of advice with an aspiring entrepreneur, maybe something you've learned or regret along the way, what would you say that would be?
I say my biggest advice would be to just put yourself out there and try things. I know that it's very difficult, especially when you're trying to figure out like what to do, like what steps to take, like how do you get funding and build a
Mm,
team and do all these things. But I've always biased towards like proof of concept, like doing what you can, like learn as much as you can along the way. And so bias towards action and doing as much as you can to like prove out an idea and just get started.
mm,
I know like ideating on what to do is sometimes the hardest part, and I
yeah.
think the next hardest part is actually taking the first steps of making something a reality. So,
Mm,
I would just say, just do it.
love it. Well, Kim, thank you so much for joining me today. And to the listeners out there, make sure to check out Prime Roots at primeroots.com.